All right, today we're going to be looking at lesson 4.4, and we are going to be using expanded form and models to help us with decimal multiplication. Yesterday we looked at multiplying just a decimal by a single digit whole number, and today we're going to be expanding on that idea. This is a story problem that talks about Jupiter and how a day on Jupiter is 9 and 8/10 Earth hours instead of 24 Earth hours. Remember, an hour or a day is about how long it takes a planet to make a full rotation on its axis. Um, and so for Jupiter, it spins a lot faster and it takes a little bit less time. So the question here is if it takes 9 and 8/10 hours for Jupiter to have a day for it to make one rotation, then how many Earth hours are there in 46 days on Jupiter? So we end up with the multiplication problem, 46 times 9 and 8/10. Um, and what we're going to do is we're going to take this problem and we are going to break it up. And we are going to use a model that looks like this. Across the top up here, we're going to put two numbers that added together equal 46. 40 plus 6 equals 46. And then down the side here, we're going to do two numbers that equal 9 and 8/10. So 9 and 8/10. So now we just multiply. Well, 9 times 4 is 36, and then we have a 0 behind that 4 and 40, so we're going to add a 0 right there. 9 times 6 is 54, and we've done our first row here. Now we're going to move down to our second row, and now we're going to multiply 8/10 times our two numbers up here and write down those values. So we learned yesterday that we can move this decimal out and then multiply as normal and then move it back in. So 8 times 4 is 32. We would put a 0 right here, but then we have that one decimal place. So we end up moving our decimal back in, and we have 32. 8 times 6 is going to go in this box, and 8 times 6 is 48. Right? Again, we moved a decimal out one time, so now we need to move the decimal back in one time, and we get 4 and 8/10. So now we have these four products from breaking up both of our numbers and multiplying everything together. Now all we have to do is add it. So we add 360 plus 54 plus 32 and 0/10, and then 4 and 8/10. Remember, it's very important that we line up those decimals, and all of these whole numbers, right, they have a decimal too. We just don't necessarily have to write them. So now, just like when we worked with the distributive property, we're going to add all of these pieces back together. Nothing plus 8 is 8. Put in my decimal. Here I have 4 plus 2 plus 4, which is 10. Regrouping, I have 6 plus 1, that's 7. 7 and this 3 make 10. 10 plus 5 is 15. And then I regroup again. 3 plus 1 is 4. So the answer to my original problem of 46 times 9 and 8/10 is 450 and 8/10, right? This top number up here is 9 times 40. This next number, that was 9 times 6. We move down. This is 8/10 times 40. And this number down here was 8/10 times 6, right? So all of these pieces have been multiplied together, and then we added them. So let's try another one, and then you'll try one all by yourself. All right, here we have 19 times 75/100. So here we've taken the number 19, and it is on this side, right? 10 plus 9 is 19. Up across the top, this is our 75/100. And now remember, we're just going to multiply like we're working on like a multiplication chart, right? So we're going to take the 10 and multiply it by the 7/10. 10 times 7/10 is 7, right? We just move that decimal over once because we're multiplying by 10. 10 times 5 hundredths, again, we're going to move that decimal over just one time. It's going to be 10 times bigger, and it's going to be 5 tenths, right? Remember, that was what we learned at the back in chapter 4, lesson 2, right? So if we have this problem, right, we have 1 0 here. That means we move this decimal over just that one time. All right, now we move on to the next row. And here, we're going to take the 9 and multiply it first times 7 tenths. Well, remember, we learned yesterday that we can take our decimal and move it out, multiply as normal, right? So times 9, that's 63, and then we just move that decimal back in an equal number of places. So that's 6 and 3 tenths. Now we're going to do the same thing with 5 hundredths times 9. We're going to hop that decimal out 2 times. 9 times 5 is 45. And then since we moved it out twice, we're going to move it back in twice, and we get 45 hundredths. So now we've multiplied all of those pieces together. The final step, of course, is to take all of those and to add them back together. Let's change our pen back. Here we are. So we get 7 plus 6 and 3 tenths plus 5 tenths plus 45 hundredths. Of course, making sure that all of those decimals are lined up nicely. 5 plus nothing is 5. 4 plus 5 plus 7, or plus 3, sorry, 4 plus 5 plus 3 is 12. 7 plus 6 is 13, plus 1 more is 14. So there's our answer, 14 and 25 hundredths. All right, I'm going to try one final one. Why don't you start off by giving it a try, pausing the video, and then come back and check and see how you did. All right, so let's give this one a try. So we're going to start off by drawing our box. We're going to cut it up. Here on this side, we have 50 plus 2 is 52. Across the top, we have 3 tenths plus 5 hundredths for 35 hundredths. So now we just multiply. Well, 5 times 3 is 15, but I have a 0 there, but I also have one decimal place here, so I get 15 out of that number. 5 times 5 is 25, right? Put that 0 on the end for the 50, and up here in this number, I have 2 decimal places, so I'm going to move this in 2 times, so I get 2 and 5 tenths. Now I move on. 2 times 3 is 6. I have one decimal place in 3 tenths, so this is 6 tenths. 2 times 5 is 10, but I have 2 decimal places in 5 hundredths, so I need to move that in, and I get 1 tenth. Now I'm ready to add them together. I get 15, 2 and 5 tenths, 6 tenths, and 1 tenth, right? Again, any of these extra zeros that are back here behind the decimal, we don't need to worry about those. Now we're going to add them together. 5 plus 6 is 11, plus 1 more is 12. Put my decimal in my answer. 5 plus 1 is 6, plus 2 is 8. And then 1 plus nothing is 1. So my answer is 18 and 2 tenths. So that is our lesson today. Give it a try, and as always, let me know if you have any questions.